All right, so this is going to be the second to last video as far as understanding the unit circle goes. We talked about in the other videos, there were three very important numbers that were 1/2, square root 2/2, and lastly, square root 3/2. And from those values, we're going to figure out all of our values on our unit circle here. So 1/2, square root 2/2, square root 3/2. Those numbers get used all the time. Now your unit circle is going to look like a circle. It's going to be centered at 0, 0. Okay, so when you're going to complete the circle, I'm just going to let you know how to draw this thing first off, what it's going to look like at the end. It's like it's split in half here. It's split in half here, and then it's also split in half here. It's split in half here, here, and then here. And what you want to notice about this thing is that here's 0 degrees, here's 90 degrees, here's 180, here's 270, and here is 360. Every single one of our values between 270 and 360 has 1, 2, 3 marks where it crosses right there. Right here it has 1, 2, 3 marks. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Those markings are very important. This is our 30 degrees. This is our 45, and this is our 60 degrees. And from that we can figure out our whole circle. So I'm just letting you know, pay attention to those 3 marks right there for right now. Now, when we construct the thing, we're going to go one step at a time. So here's our unit circle. Looks like that. It's centered at 0, 0. So here is that, that. Now, right here, this, if we're looking at our initial side here, to our center, 0, 0, this is 0 degrees. So right here, we're at 0 degrees. If we look at the first point right here, so we go up just a little bit, right here, this is 30 degrees. If we go up a little bit more, and we cut it, this value in half, this will be 45 degrees, because right here, we know this is 90, so it's like this length and this length here are going to be equal in terms of arc length. This and this are going to be equal, so it's like it's split in half. So that's 45. This will be 60 right here. All right, and let's just keep going with it. So right here we see this is 30, plus another 30 is 60, plus another 30 is 90, plus, oh, we could do another 30. This would be 120 right here. Now, if we look from here to here, that's 90 degrees. Plus, if we go over another 45, so we're going 90 plus another 45, that would be 135 degrees right here. So this would be 135. We know this is 180. Now we could think of this a couple of ways. We could go 90 plus 60 is, because we're going 90 plus 60 degrees would be 150. So this would be 150 right here. Or, I mean, we can also look at it like 150 plus another, this is the smaller angle. So 150 plus 30 is going to give me 180. So this must be 150 right here. So we're seeing the pattern that this is 30 degrees. We could go 180 minus 120. That would be 60. So we kind of see the pattern for our angles here. Let's keep going. This is 180. I went over another 30 degrees, so this would be 210. I'm going 180 plus 45 degrees would be 225 degrees right here. 180 plus 60 degrees would give me 240. So I'd be at 240 degrees right here. And then obviously 180 plus 90 is 270. This one should be right automatic. That's 270. Let's keep going. So we're at 270 right here. We go over a little bit, 30 degrees again. So this would be 300. Next one is 45. So 270 plus 45 is 315. So a 315 right here. And if you want to just, write it out and figure out 270 plus 45 and then, do it the long way, that's fine. So this is 315. 270 plus another 60 would be, right here, it would be 330 degrees. And then we cycle back through again. So, this would be our 0 degree mark. This would be 360. And what we see here is our 30 degree difference right here. And so we're good. Okay, so that's how we create our unit circle in terms of degrees right here. Now, I want to focus in on the points. As the three important points were 1/2, square root 2 over 2, and lastly, square root 3 over 2. Now, we talked about this being the 45, 45, 90 triangle, and this value we're going to see is going to get repeated. These values come in pairs, so these go hand in hand with each other. So this value here and this value here, you're going to see a relationship between those two numbers right now. These are going to be in context to the 30, 60, 90 triangle. So if we look at our first value right here, so this is 30 degrees, and we're wanting to figure out what that point is as far as an x coordinate and a y coordinate. So it's going to have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Well, we know that this is, if we think about a triangle right here, if we're 30 degrees up, this was a 90, this was 30, this was 60. Well, you see right away that my x coordinate is the longer side. So that side right here in the x direction, if I was going to project this down, this is going to be the longer side. And this right here is also going to be the biggest number. So by default, you know that your x coordinate is going to be square root 3 over 2. And as I was saying earlier, these numbers come in pairs. So this one, automatically is 1/2 right there. All right, let's go on to the next one. This value, it looks like the x and the y coordinate, like they're almost the same. And this one gets repeated. This is the square root 2 over 2 coordinate. So this is square root 2 over 2 for my x direction, and then for my y direction, it's the same thing. So it's also square root 2 over 2. If we look at our 60 degree term, if we think of the angle, again, going down right here, if we just think about our x coordinate, it's small right here. It's the smaller side. So it's not my square root 3 over 2 for the x coordinate. It's going to be my smaller number. So that means my smaller number would be 1/2. And then, because this is the smaller side right here, and then my larger side, my y direction is going to be the square root 3 over 2 term right here. So I can figure out that. And we know this is a unit circle, so this is going to be, that point right there is going to be 1, 0, because that's 0, 0. We're going up 1 in the y direction, so it's going to be 0, 1 right there. Now, from all of these values here, here, and here, what we can do is we can figure out all these other points. And the trick is just by eyeballing it. I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to erase some of these numbers so that way we don't get them screwed up with our points. But I'm just wanting to emphasize that I'm going to erase these just for that reason. I might keep some of them. You know, like our important ones were, this was 90, this is 180. Plus another 90 is 270. I mean, those are our very important ones. And it cycles back around, that's 360. So if we look at this point and this point, I ask myself, what is, you know, what's in common between those two values? And if I look at my y coordinate right here, they look like they're about the same. And you want to eyeball this thing. You want to look at it and say, oh, those y coordinates, they're about the same. So that means my y coordinates are going to be the same. You want to just look at it and say, that's the same height as that point over there. That's also the same height. That's the same height as that. So right here, you know it's going to be, for my y coordinate at least, it's going to be square root 3 over 2. And by default, you know it's going to be 1/2. Oh, wait. At that point right here, as far as the x coordinate goes, that has to be negative. Like this is positive, so this must be negative because here's 0, 0. I'm going over to the left. So this has to be negative. So I'm going to put a little negative right there. That negative is important. So I'm right here, I'm done with that. And if you look at this value right here, this is the one that's in between them both. So this is going to be the square root 2 over 2, comma, square root 2 over 2 coordinate right here. And again, the x coordinate is going to be negative, so I'm going to put a little negative right there. Very important negative. This is, you know, this is -1, 0. If we look here, this, if I project it down on my x axis right here, so I'm projecting them all down when I'm looking at it. That's kind of a trick that I always think. This is going to be my longer side, and this is going to be the same y coordinate. This is longer side. Oh yeah, this is going to be negative square root 3 over 2. And then you know your y coordinates are the same. So this is going to be 1/2. Okay. And oh, look at that, same x coordinate. So this must be negative square root 3 over 2. So here, let's try that again. This is negative square root 3 square root 3 over 2. And then what's the other value that are shared? Square root 3 over 2. Oh, and a half. So this is square root 3 over 2 and a half. But are we positive or negative here? Where this is 0 for the y coordinate. I'm going down, so it must be negative. So it's going to be negative 1/2 here. Oh, these are both negative, and they're going to be the same. So this must be negative square root 2 over 2, and then square root 2 over 2, right? No, this needs to be a negative right there. This needs to also be a negative right here. So they are both clearly negative. And if we look here, can we see anything in common here? This is our smaller side. That's minus 1/2. Looking there, that is our smaller side. So this must also be that point right there. That must be minus 1/2. And then by default, it's going to be negative square root 3 over 2. We know what this point is. That point is 0, -1. Here, I'm going to write it there. Let's go right here. This is, oh, it's good. That's got to be, think about this length here, and think about this length here. This is super long. That's short. This must be my shorter x coordinate right here. What does that line up with? Oh, that lines up with my 1/2 too. That's my smaller x coordinate side. So this is 1/2 right here. And then I'm still negative for the y direction, so it's going to be negative square root 3 over 2. This point right here is going to be, well, we know it's going to be the same x and y coordinate, so it's going to be square root 2 over 2, and then, well, positive or negative here? Here's y. Oh, yeah, that's negative. I'm going down. It's negative, so it must be negative square root 2 over 2. And then I'm right here. I used 1/2. I must not use it again. That can't be a half again. This is my longer side, so that's square root 3 over 2. And it lines up with that. And then it's going to be negative because all these are negative here because I'm going down. So this must be negative 1/2. And that is how you want to think about the unit circle. You can just look at it this way. If you know those three numbers, 1/2, square root 2 over 2, and square root 3 over 2, you're all set. So I hope this video helped as far as degrees go. Next time, we're going to talk about radians. So this was degrees this time. All right.